You are 29 years old and you are good at your job. Your managing director has started leaving the room when you present. He trusts your numbers, which means you sleep better than most of your colleagues do. You cover mid-cap industrials at a second-tier asset manager in Chicago. Your fund holds $4.2 billion across 60 positions. You own 8 of them. Every morning you arrive before 6, open your 3 monitors, and begin reading earnings releases, management commentary, sell-side updates that say nothing of real substance. You believe the market is a mechanism for price discovery. Your job is to find precisely where that mechanism is wrong. That belief is about to be fundamentally corrected. The call comes on a Tuesday in October, just before close. It is a number you do not recognize. The voice is calm, the way experienced surgeons are calm in difficult moments. The voice belongs to a man named Garrett Whitmore. He represents a family office managing $3.1 billion in private assets. The family holds 22% of Arden Industrial, one of your 8 companies. He would like to meet before Friday's earnings call. You go without hesitation. The office is in the West Loop. No visible signage anywhere on the building. The elevator requires a key card. You press the card against the reader. Whitmore is mid, 50S, silver at the temples, white open-collar shirt, no tie. He pours 2 glasses of water without asking and sets a folder on the table between you. Inside are your last 3 quarterly notes on Arden, annotated in blue pen, not simply highlighted, carefully annotated throughout. Someone has been reading you with genuine attention. The family bought Arden 11 years ago for $4.12. It trades at $31 today. He says the family has no intention of selling. A 600% return, stock fully valued by any reasonable measure. You say, why not sell? Basic portfolio management. Whitmore looks at you the way an experienced chess player looks at someone who has just moved their queen into obvious danger. He says, walk me through the tax. Federal gains at 20%, net investment income at 3.8, Illinois at 4.95. On $280 million in unrealized gains, a sale means roughly $80 million in tax gone permanently. You say, that's the cost of realizing the gain. Whitmore says, or it's the cost we simply choose not to pay. He slides a term sheet across the table. A $190 million lending facility, 3.4% annually, no tax event created. Liquidity is borrowed into existence. The asset continues to compound undisturbed. They never gave it up. You are quiet for a long moment. Whitmore says, our job is to make sure we never have to find another security again. You take the engagement. You do not fully understand him yet. That is precisely when your real education begins. The first year is entirely technical. You work on the family's portfolio architecture, not allocation in the traditional sense, but something far more structural in nature. Real estate held through a series of LLCs, each one a separate legal container with its own purpose. Equity positions held in a trust specifically designed to step up cost basis at death. Embedded gains eliminated for heirs completely. The government never sees the appreciation that accumulated over decades. A stake in a private credit firm, carried interest, taxed at long-term capital gains rates throughout. Every single asset chosen for its tax character and leverage utility, not return alone. This is not a portfolio in any conventional sense. It is a machine deliberately designed to generate spending power indefinitely, without ever triggering the event that diminishes it. You model it one night at 11 p.m., alone in the office with nothing but the numbers in front of you. Scenario 1. The family sells Arden, pays the tax obligation, and reinvests the remainder at 8% annually going forward. Scenario 2. The family borrows at 3.4%, retains the full position, and allows it to compound without interruption. You run both scenarios forward 30 years. The gap between them is not incremental. It is generational in scale. $340 million more. Not from a better investment decision or superior market timing. The return assumption is completely identical in both scenarios. The only meaningful difference is what they refuse to pay. The math is not subtle or complex. It is almost brutally obvious once you actually see it clearly. You wonder briefly why no one taught this anywhere in your formal education. Then you stop wondering. You understand precisely why they don't. This is what they built over generations. And now you are inside it, working within it. In the second year, Whitmore introduces you to a second family, third generation, older wealth, a network that operates entirely through referral, toll roads, a water utility, a substantial portfolio of cell towers. These assets do not merely appreciate over time. They generate consistent cash every single month, regardless of broader market conditions, regardless of interest rate cycles moving in either direction. The family calls this permanent income, income that structurally cannot be stopped by any external event. In a meeting, the family patriarch is presented with a serious offer to sell the water utility outright. The offer is clean, 12 times EBITDA, sovereign wealth fund as the buyer. The implied sale price, $680 million, clean closing within 60 days. The family's original cost basis, $18 million from a purchase made in 1987. The patriarch does not ask about the buyer's intentions. He does not inquire about the multiple or the strategic rationale behind it. He asks a single question directed at the room. What do we borrow against it today? The answer comes back, $290 million at 4.1%. He says quietly, "That's enough for the next project," and thanks everyone present for their time. You understand in that moment what you are actually witnessing. The offer was never genuinely real to him as a transaction. Selling is not a financial event in his framework. Selling is an ending with permanent consequences. Every asset the family holds is a permanent claim on the world's productive output in some form. To sell it is to trade a permanent claim for a temporary pile of cash that will be taxed immediately upon arrival, spent down over time, or poorly reinvested into something inferior. The wealthy do not sell because selling is the single worst thing you can do with an asset that is actively working for you. You walked into that meeting thinking about exits and timing. You walk out thinking about forever and structure. By the third year, you are no longer simply observing from the side. You are building directly. You are advising a tech founder sitting with $1.4 billion concentrated in a single equity position. He cannot sell without collapsing the stock price and simultaneously triggering a catastrophic tax event of historic personal scale. You construct a solution using exchange funds carefully. The founder contributes his concentrated position into a partnership structure. The gain is deferred entirely under the arrangement. The mechanics alone take 4 months to execute properly. Legal fees total $2.4 million before the process is complete. When it finally closes, the founder calls you from a boat somewhere warm. He says he feels like he genuinely won something important. He moved the pieces better than most people ever learn the pieces can be moved at all. You begin to understand leverage differently from this point forward, not as risk to be managed, but as a precision tool. A tool specifically designed for creating liquidity from illiquidity without ever touching the underlying asset or triggering a recognition event. The genuinely wealthy do not think primarily in terms of portfolio volatility or standard deviation. They think in collateral quality and structural permanence. A piece of real estate earns rental income month after month, but it also secures a credit facility at 50% loan-to-value simultaneously, which funds the next acquisition entirely. That next acquisition is also used as collateral for the one after it. The assets are not a simple stack arranged vertically. They are a lattice built carefully over time. Each one supports the weight of the others around it. Selling one piece does not merely remove its individual contribution to returns. It weakens every surrounding node in the structure that depended on it. You stop thinking in individual positions and discrete holdings. You start thinking exclusively in structures and relationships between structures. In the fourth year, you are brought in quietly to advise on a significant restructuring. A publicly traded holding company is under sustained pressure from an activist investor demanding immediate action. The activist is demanding the full sale of its core real estate assets to unlock what he publicly describes as trapped value. The activist is technically correct about the underlying valuation. The logic is genuinely clean and defensible on paper. It is exactly the kind of logic you relied on when you still believed sincerely in simple price discovery as the governing principle. But you are no longer operating from that side of the table. The controlling shareholder owns 41% of the equity outright, 2 full generations of continuous family ownership behind that position. The cost basis is negligible at this point in the history. The embedded gain sits at $940 million. A full sale would cost $260 million in taxes alone before a single dollar could be redeployed into anything else. It would also permanently sever an income stream generating $38 million annually in perpetuity. And it would surrender meaningful voting control over 3 major office markets for the next 40 years at minimum. That form of structural influence does not appear anywhere on a conventional spreadsheet. You cannot model it in any standard framework. It is structural power compounding not in reported dollars, but in access, relationships, and the ability to shape outcomes in real markets over long time horizons. You construct the defense carefully. A recapitalization paired with a leveraged dividend to return meaningful capital to shareholders without forcing any sale event. A REIT restructuring, offering the activist partial liquidity on acceptable terms without requiring full disposition of the core portfolio. The activist ultimately accepts the terms presented. The family retains the assets completely. The family keeps the city blocks for another generation. Whitmore says simply, "You understand now." You do. The city blocks remain exactly where they were. The income continues flowing without interruption. The game advances to the next level of complexity. The wealthy do not sell because every sale is a permanent subtraction from something that was working. Real wealth of duration is built on the disciplined refusal to subtract from what is compounding. An asset in continuous motion, generating income, simultaneously serving as collateral, compounding its value forward, is categorically different from cash in every meaningful respect. Cash is inert by nature. It is taxed at the moment it arrives. It is eroded by inflation during every month. It simply waits to be deployed. An asset is alive in a way cash is not. A toll road does not stop collecting tolls because its owner is navigating a difficult quarter elsewhere in the portfolio. The sophisticated long-term owner borrows against that operation at rates lower than the asset's yield, pockets the spread between them, and compounds the difference directly into the next acquisition in the sequence. The tax code is not a fixed constant in this framework. It is a variable that responds directly to how you choose to structure your affairs. The family that sells pays the full cost of that decision immediately. The family that borrows against its assets does not. The family that holds until death passes those assets with a fully stepped-up cost basis to the next generation. The government never captures the gain that accumulated over an entire lifetime of compounding. This is not evasion in any legal or moral sense. It is architecture applied deliberately and consistently across time. Every wealthy family of real duration has an architect working within and around the structure. Most people never know such an architect exists or operates in this way. Your professional network has narrowed dramatically in total number over these years, while widening significantly in practical utility. Most casual conversations have become a form of surface performance you participate in without real engagement. You cannot discuss your actual work honestly in most social rooms. The growing gap between what you genuinely know and what can safely be said in any given context becomes a permanent interior condition you carry everywhere. Now you are working on something larger in scale than anything you have touched before in your career. An offer has arrived valuing the central asset at $2.8 billion. The embedded gain locked inside, it sits at $1.9 billion accumulated over decades. The tax liability, depending entirely on how the transaction is ultimately structured, ranges from $380 million to $560 million across various scenarios. You are attempting to thread both liquidity creation and full tax deferral through the same narrow needle simultaneously. The legal structure being assembled spans 3 separate jurisdictions with different regulatory frameworks. The IRS has been monitoring the approach for the past 18 months with visible attention. 3 weeks ago, a structurally similar arrangement at a different family office was formally challenged by regulators. The final outcome of that challenge remains unknown and unresolved. You are building something that may not ultimately hold under direct scrutiny. You are building it anyway because the family's encoded policy across 4 generations is absolute and unconditional. We do not sell. The markets open again tomorrow morning. Tax Counsel responds in 3 weeks with their final opinion. The consortium's exclusivity window expires in 6. You hold the complete map of the structure in your mind. You do not own the toll roads yourself. You do not own the city blocks you help defend. Another family is already waiting with their own situation. Another concentrated position requiring careful navigation. Another embedded gain that has grown too large to simply liquidate without consequence. The game continues at every level simultaneously,